to the Tortured Mancast, episode 39, as we are going to continue after our fun Thanksgiving weekend and talk about some football and some really cool stuff happened over this weekend. I think some of the better teams are starting to separate themselves. Some of the teams that seem to be falling on bad luck are slipping when they're actually playing well. And again, I am going to completely bitch, whine, piss, and moan about the fucking disgusting officiating that is going on in the NFL, and it is literally costing teams games at this point. And the NFL doesn't do something, their product is shit, and they need to fix it. If they're not going to, then maybe next year this will be a college football apparatus instead of the NFL. So I will turn it over to Chad to see exactly what he thinks about what we just witnessed over the weekend.
Well, you're right. The officiating's piss poor. The quarterback plays pretty sketchy as well a lot of times.
Agreed.
And that's been kind of a running theme this season. Even Tom Brady's been honing in on that.
Tom Brady acting like he's some old grizzled retired veteran from a different era. This is his first year out of the league, and he's acting like just last year was totally different.
Yeah, but well, true. But
and most of those pussy ass things he's whining about are because of him.
Now that's a valid point. But if you look at the totality of what he's saying, he is just saying, look, over this time frame, this is what's happened. And he's not wrong. But he was the precipitating factor for sure. I just want to ask, is Matt Amendola still on the Texans? Has he still got a job? Is he still employed? The kicker for the Texans?
I'm going to say that they're probably looking at other kickers this week. He missed 2 field goals over 50 yards. One hit the crossbar that cost him going to overtime. And he has missed all 5 of his kicks at 50 or plus more yards this year. 0 for 5.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. You gotta go.
Oh no. You look, if he was say 3 out of 2 and he missed that one from 57 yards, okay. 57 yards is no gimme. Your chance of making a 57 yarder are only about 42%. So I get it from that distance. But the other one that he missed was from exactly 50 yards. So that wasn't that he didn't have the distance. He just shanked the hell out of it. So yeah. I'm going to imagine they're moving on. If they can find a kicker that's competent enough to do it.
And I feel for him because, I mean, he was a foot away from doing it, man, from going to overtime.
Oh, no. He hit that cross. Now, so if you watch that in slow motion, so the ball's rotating this way, and it hit here. If it would have hit going this way where the nose was coming down on the crossbar, it would have flipped itself over instead of back. So everything went wrong on the way that thing hit the goddamn crossbar, but it doesn't matter. He also missed an extra point in that game as well.
Yeah, as John Madden would have said, it would have been an inside doink instead of an outside
doink. Correct. That is true. Words were never spoken.
Terminology is like
it was an inside doink, not an outside doink, and it cost them. But an extra point's only from about 35 yards, so there's no excuse for that. And of course Stroud had to make up for that with his feet, so that they would, next time they scored, they had to go for 2 because they didn't still want to be more than a score down. So yeah, that was bad. And again, one of my problems with my team is they had the opportunity to put that game completely away with about 8 minutes left in the game, and they shit the bed. And it's been a concern for me with them this year that they seem to have an issue sometimes closing games out.
Yeah, I was kind of just the way Stroud behaves. I was kind of expecting them to come back and win that game. That kid, okay, sure, we all knew he was physically talented. The size and everything is great, and his physical attributes are phenomenal, but and we knew he could execute well as a leader, but nobody knew he'd have this level of moxie in the NFL. Nobody knew that he'd be this clutch and just completely unraveled.
He's like a 10-year veteran.
Bro, it's impressive as fuck.
He's crazy good. And I got to tell you, with the bad quarterback play we've seen this year, and there's another game on this list that we can talk about later. Both him and Trevor Lawrence had stellar 300+ yard games. They both scored touchdowns with their feet. That was a heady, fun football game to watch.
It's a fantastic game.
And Josh Allen, the defensive end and linebacker, edge rusher, for he was responsible for 3 sacks by himself and assisted on the other 2. The guy is an absolute one-man wrecking machine. He's unbelievable. Yep. If people aren't watching number 41, Josh Allen for the Jags, watch a Jags game and watch that guy play defense. Oh my God, he's amazing, man. He might, this side of Micah Parsons, may be the best outside edge rusher linebacker in the NFL.
He's pretty special, that's for sure. So yeah, that was a
lot of fun to watch.
That was a hell of a game, and for a rookie, man, I just can't say enough about the kid Stroud.
He's rookie of the year.
I do think it's interesting though on the juxtaposition here with Bryce Young in his dismal season, and the better they're making the pick for the Bears as they go. I don't know if you heard today that Frank Reich was fired, and yeah, so it's going to be funny when we're ready to predict our games here, because I'm actually going to predict that.
Did you hear? I don't want to interrupt you, but real quick, did you hear what Frank Reich said on the way out the door?
No.
You should have listened to Ed on the Mancast instead of taking CJ Stroud.
Well, if he wasn't saying that, he's wrong. So I'm just saying.
So I got some cool stuff that I want to go over here quickly before we get to our game to game. Here's an interesting little fact, and I do a little, how I do my Monday football research stuff. Jacksonville Jaguars. So all the leaders in the AFC have three losses. But the Jags have the easiest schedule moving forward because their 2 toughest games going forward, because they've already played the toughest part of their schedule, and they had a pretty heady schedule. But the Browns and the Bengals are next back-to-back, and neither one of them have their starting quarterback, and we're watching both of those teams implode without, and the Jags are better than the teams they just lost to. If the Jacks win all the way out, all they need is every other team to just lose one game, and home field advantage is theirs. I just think that's an interesting thing, because I wouldn't have thought that they would have been in the running this late in the season. I figured they were going to win their division and they're going to the playoffs, but I didn't think that they had a shot at the home field advantage, but they do.
Yeah, I would say yeah, I think they'll win the next 2, like you said, against the Bengals and Browns, especially now that I'm hearing Myles Garrett's out. And the Ravens, unfortunately, that'll be a tough one. At least they got it in Jacksonville.
Yep. And they, by the way, they've beaten Ravens last 3 times they played them. That doesn't mean much today, but just to put it out there.
And the Buccaneers can always put up a fight. The Panthers is definitely a win. And, the Titans, I'm sure they'll beat them. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be contenders.
But they should be favored in every one of those games.
It's going to be, it's going to be down to the wire this year.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Who gets the first seed. So
I agree. Kansas City's got a tougher schedule moving forward for sure.
No, we've gotten through our tough part.
I got to play the Bills next week.
That's it. That's it.
That's no cakewalk. And you don't play Denver again, do you?
No,
because they're on fire right now. Holy crap!
So we have basically the same. We actually have a 42% chance of being the number 1 seed per Vegas per strength of schedule, with number 1 chance per Vegas. Just saying, yeah. That's even against the Ravens, who are currently in number 1, because they have the hardest part of their schedule coming up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Ravens got to revisit a lot of the teams in their own division, which, generally speaking, division games at this time of the year, this is the way I always put it to people when they say this team can't possibly lose to that team when they're interdivision rivals. In 1991, the Washington Redskins, they were 14-0. And everybody was going, they're going to go undefeated. On Monday Night Football, they played the Dallas Cowboys, who are 0-14. And the Cowboys won. Interdivision rivalries, you never know what's going to friggin' happen. Nobody would have thought Denver was going to beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. No one.
No, well, more than that, nobody would thought Denver would go on a 5-week tear either.
And if you look inside the numbers, they're not playing on offense particularly great or anything. Their defense is what's doing it for them. They're getting a lot of turnovers, and they're forcing the other team to either turn the ball over or punt the ball back to them. But even yesterday's game, not that his numbers were terrible, but Wilson only threw for 193 yards.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going out there running up 450 yards on teams and fucking laying them to waste. You know what I mean?
For sure. What else you got, boss?
Here's some interesting things. The Patriots have 4 games with 7 or fewer points scored by them this year. They only have 5 of those games in 283 games with Tom Brady. Think about that. The Patriots are the only team in 30 years to lose back-to-back games while their defense held the opposing offense to 10 or less points. They lost them both. And the last team to do it 30 years ago was the fucking Patriots. You got to love that. Belichick has lost 2 games with less than 10 points given up by his defense over the last 28 years of his career, and he's already did it back-to-back weeks this year alone. Man. 28 years, it only happened twice. Just happened in the last 2 weeks.
My man swallowed some hard pills this year.
Something that we talked about a bit for a little while last week. Steelers fired Matt Canada, and their offense snapped a 58-game streak of not crossing over the 400-yard mark for total yards in a game, and they crossed it yesterday for 422. Yep. I think that's – and while they didn't put a lot of points on the board, they were moving the ball around, and Kenny Pickett actually looked like he was having fun playing football for the first time all fucking year.
Yep, he did.
Here's 2 more things. Here's something that's really weird. If the playoffs were today, the Colts are in.
Yeah.
The Colts are in, and sitting right on the bubble, right behind them are the Broncos and the Bills.
Yep.
I still think the Bills are going to the playoffs. They're just a better football team than those two.
I don't know, man. They got a tough slog, dude.
We're going to talk about the Eagles game, and Josh Allen was a one-man wrecking crew yesterday. He was amazing.
Well, sure.
But... Oh, yeah. And that touchdown in overtime, that was 100% on his wide receiver. He ran a wrong route. He went to the corner when he should have gone to the post.
Yep.
And they would have won that game. Not that they should even have been in overtime to begin with. And the most clutch quarterback currently in the NFL is Jalen Hurts. And here are the numbers on Jalen Hurts. He has 8 straight games when he's trailing by 10 or more points. No other quarterback in the NFL has more than 4. When tied or losing during a game, Hurts is 71 completion percentage for 1,710 yards, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception for a 114.4 Q rating. But in the fourth quarter, he's 67.6% for 686 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions for 136.6 quarterback rating. The next closest rating is Pat Mahomes at 99.4.
Yep, he's on fire.
He's killing it. This has been a fun season, but some of these guys and what they're doing and the weird stats they're putting up are just fun to talk about for me anyway.
The Bills still have the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Chargers, of course the Patriots, and the Dolphins.
I'm worried about the Chargers or the Patriots. I'm not worried about the Cowboys actually, because I just don't think Cowboys are anything that people make them out to be. Chiefs is certainly, yeah. I mean that's a huge problem. If they lose to the Chiefs, then they're going to need all kinds of help on the back end. They have to grab that victory, whether they will or won't.
I think they'll beat the Chiefs, lose to the Cowboys, and lose to the Dolphins, and miss the playoffs. And that'll be the only Chiefs loss the rest of the season. That's my prediction.
They smoked the Dolphins the first time they played them.
And now it's, you know how that goes, man. It's tit for tat, just like with the Chiefs and the Broncos. Just a lot of those division rivalries, man. That's how that shit goes.
Well, I will say this: when they have to play the Finns, they have to play them in Miami.
Yeah,
and Miami's crowd shuts the fuck up when Miami's on the field because they know that they have complicated calls at the line, so they don't want to disrupt that. When Miami's on the road, the reason they're so poor on the road sometimes is because the quarterback can't communicate with his line because the crowd makes sure that he can't because they know how sensitive that is for them. That's why you never want that shit going on. Right. I mean, that's why anytime Peyton Manning was on the road, that was as loud as a crowd would get because they knew if he was under center that he was probably calling an audible or a play right on the spot, and they were trying to screw that whole thing up.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go through them. We started off with the Packers and the Lions. Thanksgiving. We both picked the Lions. The Packers stole one here. The Lions just play bad. They didn't play a very good football game.
Packers are on a roll, though, man.
Yeah, they're still 5-6. They're not going anywhere. And I'm not super impressed with the Packs. Every now and again, good teams have bad games. That was the Lions. I don't foresee them playing this poorly. I did watch the game, obviously, and Jared Goff looks a little off to me. I don't know if he's nursing something and they're not talking about it.
Might be.
But he just looks a little bit off to me. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown open for at least one score and certainly to advance the ball down the field a couple of times. And it was almost like he wasn't trusting his arm or maybe his leg to pivot and plant to throw the ball back across his body. That's what I was watching. And I thought that maybe there's an issue here and they need to get him healthy. So we'll see. Playoffs are coming. They're going to take their division unless they totally implode. So they better figure it out before then, because in playoff football, that shit ain't going to fly.
Right.
Cunts and the Cowboys, that went exactly the way I expected. I'm surprised that we haven't heard that Riviera hasn't been fired.
Yeah, I think they'll wait to the end of the season. There's not a lot of reason.
I think they got a free shot at looking at Eric Bieniemy, and I think they're making a mistake.
I think Bieniemy's doing everything. I think they're going to move into Bieniemy anyway. I think Bieniemy's already running the offense. I mean, what else is he going to do, you know?
Well, there's a difference between being the offense coordinator, running the entire team. That's a whole different ball of wax. So we watch coordinators on both sides of the ball get advanced to a head coaching job on somebody else's team because they've done so well only to get there, and they can't handle the job of being head coach. They're just good all coordinators. So being put in that position.
That's what I've always maintained about Eric Bieniemy, but we'll see.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. The Redskins get a real good look at that and find out. But Riviera's not taking him anywhere. They're not going to keep him. So what the hell difference does it make at this point?
Right.
The Niners and the Hawks, well, that went exactly the way I expected it to. The Niners seem to be clicking on all cylinders right now. They're playing really good football.
Yep.
Jets and the Finns, again, nothing surprising there. The Jets, well, they're god-awful. Their offensive line's a shambles. I do not blame their offensive line, by the way, for what happened to Aaron Rodgers, but if he was playing, he probably would have died behind that offensive line at some point during the year anyway.
Right.
God awful, man. Holy shit.
That's
their
bad.
defense is good, but their defense is tired and worn out and beat up, man. They just can't take it anymore. Bucks and the Colts. This is we both thought the Bucks would win. They didn't. But again, Baker Mayfield played really good.
He did, but I'm going to stop doubting the Colts, man. They're working it out.
The Colts are 6-5, and if the playoffs were today, they'd be in. So, and that's a full It's a full game and a half ahead of the Atlanta Falcons, who have a losing record and would be representing the NFC South right now, because the Saints are probably one of the biggest disappointments. They had the easiest schedule. They had with Michael Thomas and bringing in Carr and all the stuff that they have and healthy running situation, there's no reason for that team to be in that position. We talked about that last week. The head coach should be fired. Get rid of him.
Yeah, well, because while I never thought Carr was going to take him to a Super Bowl, I certainly thought he could take him to the playoffs.
Right. In the shittiest game of the week category, the Giants took the Patriots. That put you one up on me. The Patriots easily should have won that game. They just I don't even know what to say about the Patriots. Bill Belichick's done after this year. They're not keeping it.
Oh yeah.
He's been a horrible GM because he's been the guy doing the drafting and everything else, and it's not working. And they're abysmally bad this year. I think the game's kind of passed him by a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Both took the Steelers over the Bengals. The Bengals without Joe Burrow are just not the same team. Browning played well. I'm not good, but I don't care who your second string quarterback is when your first string quarterback's Joe Burrow, unless your second string quarterback is Jared Goff or something, then who cares? Because it's just not the same. It doesn't play the same. We both took the Titans, and they beat the Panthers, who are horrible.
Yep.
I took the Jags. You took
Till
the
next
Texans.
week.
Jags won. Great game.
Huge.
Another game that could have gone either way. That's how close. We had a lot of really good games, tight games this week, with teams that really mattered, because the Jags needed that to separate themselves and take the dominant position. Now they have 2 wins over the Texans, so that puts them a full 3 games up, because not only the Texans can't tie them, they have to win, have a 1 game more in the win column, and with only 6 games left to play, that is not going to happen.
No, they've got to hope for a wild card.
Right. And they, my money would be, look, if the Colts and the Texans have to play each other, so my money to straighten all that out is going to be the Texans are going to take the Colts out.
You would think.
Saints and Falcons, and you took the Falcons, I took the Saints, and another shit-tardy fucking game. Just god awful. I don't take the Falcons very seriously. It's just the Saints are imploding. We both took the Rams, and Matthew Stafford looked like Matthew Stafford from 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, man. He was balling. He looked great. I took the Broncos, you took the Browns, and the Broncos won easily. 17-point victory. Oh, that shocked me. I didn't think that they would roll them.
Yeah, but I mean, the Browns lost their second string quarterback now, and they're on to PJ Walker. And it was just like nothing was going well for them.
If PJ Walker, he's probably headed to the Hall of Fame.
Your fucking name is
Uber driver's taking him there. But...
Sorry, dude, but if your name is Pajamas, you're not gonna lead my team. Yeah.
Still, I know you hate the Broncos, bro, but 5 wins in a row is 5 wins in a row. You start the season, 1-4. Now you got a winning record. That you can't argue. You can't.
Dude,
argue.
Hate or not, I have to admit that they're on a fucking roll, and that
I don't think they're going to
like,
playoffs or nothing. But
it seems like Sean Payton has gotten some things moving in the right direction there.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm telling you, privately, he wants to get another quarterback and get Wilson out of there.
I can't blame him.
No, well, Wilson's numbers are fine, but Wilson is one of those quarterbacks that is proof positive that statistics don't always tell the story.
Exactly.
And it's like there's so many people use statistics to spin doctor them to make it look like something that's not going on.
That's what they say. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Right. I'm going to skip over the Bills Eagles. We'll get to that last. Chiefs. I was after when they spotted them 14 points. So that was a 31-3 beatdown. And even when they were up 14-0, I'm watching that game and I'm going, I'm not even remotely worried. Just not even at all.
I thought my mom was freaking out, and I was like, you know what? Don't worry. I was like, I like it better this way. I was like, they will play a much better game. Watch. This is going to make them come alive. And I go, oh, fuck, we have to do something here, and it'll be fine. I'd much rather it this way than them come out, blow the doors off of them, and then go to sleep. And so no, this was good. And yeah, and then once they start, it was that Josh Dot or that Dot or oh gosh, what's their running back's name? The Raiders. Joshua.
Oh yeah. Oh Jesus. Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. It was that run, that big run for the touchdown that put them up.
That was
14.
impressive.
Yeah.
250 pounds, man.
And that's when Mahomes and the offense were like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to do something.
They actually had to play.
And they did.
And they went played actually
3
great
series in a row then.
Oh, they were dominant after that.
Yeah.
And they scored in the second half.
Yay! And they finally have a wide receiver with 100 yards. Rashee Rice, thank you, sir. You lovely rookie, you. 107 yards. The first wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs in the last 21 regular season games to have a 100-yard game with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. What the fuck? Also,
21 years, not 21 games.
Kelsey almost had a hundo too at 91 yards. So,
yeah, finally somebody stood up. Let's see how that works out moving forward. I said a few weeks ago, Mahomes needs to get with somebody and trust somebody. And this week it looked like he decided he was going to trust Rice, and it came up spades, man.
When I found out that Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman, meanwhile, McCole Hardman, because he was this way all along the last couple of years.
That's why he's always
he's always he's Sammy Watkins, basically. He's just always injured. And, Kadarius Toney is very similar, always injured. And he's had a lot of issues this year with drops and stuff like that. And I was like, wait, those two are very main target guys. Without them on the field, it's going to force Mahomes to go for Rice. And I think this is a good thing. Lo and behold, it was a fucking good thing. So let's keep that up. We know McCole Hardman's on IR for 4 weeks, so we don't have to worry about him getting in the way. And Richie James is in now, so we've got him back. The guy that went out of the very first of the season in that very first opening game, he's back, and he didn't have much, but he just got back for his first game. What did he have here? I'm sorry. I don't think he posted anything, but anyway, I'm excited about Rice getting the amount of targets he's been getting. So he got 10 targets. He caught 8 of them. I hope they keep that up.
He looked good. He looked good, and they need it for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and Pacheco, I can't say enough good things about that kid. He's the angriest runner I've seen in a long time. That dude is pissed every time he gets the ball.
And the cheapest too, 7th rounder. And then when you think about it too, like, we got him for a minute. Like, he is not going anywhere for a while. He's only his second season, so right. We've got a stud running back for a while.
Well, seventh rounders though only usually sign 2 or 3 year contracts. They don't sign them for 5 years like they do first rounders.
Well, and that's very fair. So we probably have him for one more season after this one. But
they decide to reward him. Look, running backs aren't out there making huge money to begin with. So it's not like they're going to have to pay him $30 million a year to hang around the team. I think the highest paid running back in the NFL right now is only $15 million.
Yeah.
So that, but he can be a game changer, and he is one of the angry fucking runners I've seen in a long time. And I love running backs who run like that.
Right.
Ravens beating the Chargers didn't surprise anybody.
Nope. Lamar Jackson.
The Ravens are good. They're really good. And when Jackson plays particularly well, they're almost unbeatable. So they're a fun team to watch as we move forward as well.
Once again, I'm so jealous. So jealous. Once again, so jealous about Zay Flowers. Fuck,
He's
I
a
wish we could
baller,
have got
man.
him.
Oh my
That
God.
kid is so good.
He needs
Did
to
you
work on that end zone
see?
dance because that shit's stupid.
Did you see him trying to show it to Lamar?
Yeah.
He was on the sideline trying to tell Lamar to. Lamar's like, nah, dude, nah,
Oh, you talking about, boy.
man.
That's good stuff.
Like you're
But
a bridesmaid.
that stupid end zone dance he
Ah,
has cracks me up.
that
It's so
was pretty
bad.
bad.
We're halfway through the second quarter, and it's a barn burner. Chicago 3, Vikings nothing.
Shocker.
All right, so let's get to that Eagles-Bills game. That was probably the best game of the year. Wow.
Lights out.
What a game, what a game. And one of the things that I'm not hearing a whole lot of people talk about when they're talking about that game today is just how abysmally bad the weather was and how few turnovers there were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pouring down rain almost the entire game.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Both quarterbacks balled out. Josh Allen he's literally throwing his team on his back and dragging them to victory lane, and the rest of the team's not giving him a whole lot of help. That's 2 weeks in a row or two out of the last 3 weeks where he has literally drugged them to the goal line, so to speak.
I'll have you know that there are a couple of really smart football minds, former players, defensive back and such, who think that Josh Allen threw the wrong pass and that Gabe Davis ran the right route. Just saying.
Yeah, they're wrong.
All right.
And here's why they're wrong. He has the choice as the receiver. He already had his man beat. So to have to turn and run in the other direction when it was unnecessary automatically puts it on the receiver, period. And when they get into film, they're not going to sit there and discuss anything other than you had your man beat and you're turning to your right changes nothing for you. And it keeps the defender from having to cross over, which makes it harder to defend. Why you'd go in the other direction makes no sense at all. None. That's my take on it.
It's not a bad argument, but I don't know. They're of course they're both trying to be big men about it. And say, it's collective,
To be fair, they never should have been in that position. It never should have gone to overtime.
True.
The Bills left 17 points on that field.
Yeah.
They went for it at the end of the second quarter, going into halftime. They should have taken the 3 points, and they didn't. They went for a touchdown, and they didn't get it.
Yep.
And then they botched with a bad penalty, a field goal that they made that was good, and then moved them back till it was rained into a 50-some yard field goal, and then they missed it.
And then they called a
point on the board.
And then they called a timeout to try to ice a guy before he's even lined up and just give him a bunch of extra time to. What the fuck was that?
Right. So, and then of course what happened in overtime. So they just left a lot of points on the field. Then they had that other drive where they got all the way down into the red zone and turned the ball over on downs. I mean, what the hell? So yeah, it wasn't a good look. None of that stuff can be attributed to Josh Allen.
He threw a pick.
Right. So what?
Yeah.
The average team turns the ball over, I think, 1.35 times per game. The Bills a little bit more because Allen is a little more responsible for doing more than most quarterbacks. Allen's their leading rusher.
So, I know. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 81 yards on top of 139 passing yards.
So, I'll take a pick when you're giving me
single-handedly. I trust me. The only problem I have with Josh Allen is that he's that guy today and he's fucking some other guy tomorrow. Like next week he'll choke the whole thing up.
He can be inconsistent at times, but I think part of that is the expectations from his team on what he needs to do. I think is more than a lot of other quarterbacks get. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying a lot. He doesn't have as much help as other people. Pat Mahomes you can use as an outlier because Pat has no more talent on offense than he does, maybe less. And we don't see these kinds. But even this year, though,
Stephon Diggs and
over far more than what's usual for him.
Yeah, I mean, Stephon Diggs is pretty fucking amazing.
Don't get me wrong, but you talk about temperamental. Diggs decides to play when Diggs feels like playing.
It's fair. He is
And he
diva.
talks about himself in the third person, which just pisses me off to no end.
He is a super diva for sure.
Yes, he is. He's a throwback to the Terrell Owens
Yeah.
and Ocho Cincos and all these clowns, right? And he, in a year before they're even up and going, they're just happen to be 3-2, and he's already pissing about wanting to get out of Buffalo. That's terrible in a locker room and for chemistry. And it's hard for your quarterback to trust you when he knows you don't give a shit. So, and oh, by the way, on a deep pattern in the first half, Josh hit him dead in his hands and he dropped the ball, man. So
fair.
So, but, and I don't give no excuses. I don't care if it's raining. You're getting paid that kind of money. It's a fucking ball.
Same.
And oh, by the way, for these guys who go, I like to go barehanded. Those gloves are sticky, dude, and it's raining. Wear them.
It helps. Yeah.
So simple. Just wear them. So that's what I got. I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, and their record bears that out. They are 10-1 until somebody defeats them. And that might not happen until the Super Bowl. Then it might be the Chiefs, because that's the way it's looking like it's shaping up to me. I don't think that the Jags are ready yet. I think next year might be a different story for them. They may be more challenging towards taking a trip to the Super Bowl, but they've been a little erratic this year, and they still don't have that thing. When you can't consistently close game outs that you have in control in the fourth quarter, that's concerning. And very young teams with very young quarterbacks sometimes have those problems, unless your name's CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he's something else. Though.
He really is. He's crazy good. All right. So let's get to, we have short games this week through, I think only 13.
Yeah, I got several.
We got several good games. And the biggest one of all. And then, of course, the biggest one of all with the Eagles and the Niners. So, but let's start with the Seahawks and the Cowboys. After watching the Seahawks performance against the 49ers, they're going to go on the road against the Cowboys and pick up a win? No way in hell.
Hey, man, it's easily a Cowboys ball game.
Yeah, Cowboys they're a better football team, and as long as Dak Prescott doesn't see the Seahawks as someone to worry about, then he'll be fine.
Right. As long as he doesn't feel any pressure.
Colts and the Titans. We said it earlier. I'm no longer doubting the Colts. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah,
probably means the Colts will lose, but
yeah,
but
I'm gonna.
To me, that won't happen. Minshew. I mean, you say Josh Allen can be a little erratic. Holy crap! Talk about erratic. But Minshew's a weird dude. Like, 1 week he could play as well as somebody like fucking Matthew Stafford, and the next week he looks like fucking PJ Masks, who is currently the Browns quarterback. So.
PJ Mask.
Oh my god,
that's fucking great.
Falcons and the Jets. The Falcons have something to play for. They are in control of their own destiny to win the NFC South, and the Jets are going nowhere, so I'm taking the Falcons.
Same here, Falcons all the way. They seem to be clicking a little bit right now. And
their competition hasn't been exactly heavy, but somebody's got to win that division. And they have to be happy. Look, that game against the Saints that they just won, they knew going in, if their playoffs already started. If they win that game, they control their destiny. They knew that going into the game, and they won. And they didn't just win, 24-23. They won 24-15. So over a full touchdown plus some points. He would have needed 2 scores to win. That's pretty heady for a team that's really not that good.
It was a solid game for them.
It
So
was, and Ritter seems to be calming down a little bit, not making so many mistakes.
yeah.
The Lions and the Saints. Well, after what I just watched from the Saints, I have no faith in them to do anything, and the Lions are just a much better football team.
Amen. Lions it is.
I will go the Broncos and the Texans. I'm taking the Texans. I think the Broncos are on fire and they're playing well, but they're not playing Texans well. The Texans have had a pretty tough schedule. They've navigated it well, and they've been playing really good football all year long, especially given their talent level because of CJ Stroud. And by the way, Tank Bell, who you were kind of laughing about some weeks back about that's his best guy, he's turned into a hell of a wide receiver, that young man.
Oh,
So,
he's amazing.
props.
He's phenomenal. Yeah.
but-
I was just saying, like, who's he got? A rookie, you know? And look, well, he's a great rookie.
But again, this is right. But this is a playoff game.
Yeah.
And I think, if I can't believe I'm going to say this because this is a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one in Russell Wilson. If I have to put my money on a quarterback to make sure my team wins, I'm going with CJ Stroud before I'm going with Russell Wilson at this point.
Oh, I think that's a no-brainer. I think it's definitely the Texans ball game. And I'll just say this. They played the Jags so freaking close. And the Jags are a far better team than the Broncos. So definitely Texans.
Chargers, Pats, that goes without saying. I mean, the Bolts are going to win this. The Pats are they're if they continue on the way that they are, they're going to get a good quarterback because there's quite a few coming out. So they have a shot at a good quarterback. Mac Jones, no.
No, he's not it. Bailey Zappi is not it. You know,
sounds like a candy bar.
That's what I'm saying. Like, these are the most bizarre. If somebody said Bailey Zappi, I'm like, nah, we'll pass. Just like PJ Walker.
Bailey Zappi. I'll take the Zappi. Cards, Steelers. The Cardinals aren't going to take one from the Steelers, especially not in Pittsburgh. And by the way, the Steelers are in the playoffs right now. I think they're doing very well, much better. And they got rid of Canada. And finally, I think we're finally going to see if Kenny Pickett can actually play quarterback in the NFL, because I watched some of that game and he actually threw a pass longer than 5 yards for the first time, I think, in his career.
Yeah, he looked like he was having a lot of fun too.
Yeah, if you watched him on the sideline, he was smiling. Like, that's the first time I've seen that kid smile all year.
How fast?
Yeah, saying we got him having fun playing football. The Finns and the Cuntmanders. That's you don't even need to talk about that.
What? You're not going to hold it down for your team.
My team.
Yeah, like my team's the Jags.
My team ended when the Redskins called and threw it away. We're done. We're out of here.
Fair enough.
Panthers and the Bucks at home. The Bucks, they're a better football team than their record would indicate. They've had some really close games and some weird stuff go on. The Panthers aren't going to beat the Bucks. I think this is the kind of game that Mayfield, the season's getting shorter. He wants to keep that starting job. I think he's earned it. And I think this kind of team he's going to want to light up.
I mean, the Panthers are the Panthers.
They won one game all year.
I mean, they're just doing their best to help out the Bears. So I'm definitely going. All right, we had a bit of technical difficulty, but we are back in action. We never addressed the Browns Rams.
Well, they're after the Eagles Niners.
Oh, okay.
We never finished Eagles Niners. I took the Eagles. You were up, and then technical difficulties afoot.
Okay, yeah.
So you need to make your pick on the Niners Eagles.
I need to get what list you're going off of so that I'm not always out of line with you, because for some reason the NFL, their list is wildly different from the one you have every week. 49ers and Eagles. Uh,
So what I was saying, to bring everybody back up to speed, I was saying how the Eagles have been so clutch. They're 10-1, and until somebody beats them, then I have to go with them.
yeah, I'm with you there. And normally that would be, if you pick San Fran, I would probably say that too. But I'm going to go San Fran.
Right, because
I
you're going to go in the opposite direction. I get it.
and I actually think this could go either way.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. These are the two best teams in the NFC, hands down.
And
This would be no different if Kansas City had to play the Ravens this week, or say Kansas City had to play the Jags. Either one of those games would play out very similar to me.
I actually think the 49ers are the better team. I just think that the 49ers, they're not the same. They're not as gritty. They're not as gritty as the Eagles.
I don't know that they're even the better team. I mean, offensively, I mean, AJ Brown, I'll take AJ Brown over any wide receiver that they have. Now, I'm not going to take Swift over McCaffrey, but the Eagles tight end, Dallas Goedert, is every bit as good as 49ers. I'll take Devontae Smith over their backup, their slot wide receiver. So offensively, the Eagles are every bit as good as they are. The 49ers, the games that they have lost have all been against good teams who could play defense. And the Eagles defense has given up probably more points than they would like to. But in the second half, that's a whole different story. I think that the Eagles are the most talented team in the NFL currently. Their offense is wicked good, to quote somebody from Boston. And I think that the Niners are right up there with them. So I just think the Eagles are the best team in the NFL until somebody proves otherwise. Maybe the 49ers will. Maybe the 49ers go into Philadelphia and smack them around, and everybody will go, holy shit. But the Eagles didn't fucking lose 3 games in a row like the Niners did, and against good teams.
Fair enough. And I don't think that the Niners are going to smack them around. I just think that the Eagles are just like any other team. They're bound to, drop the ball and not be able to overcome at the end like they have been.
Well, when you listen to when we listen to Ass Hats, the talking heads, the Stephen A's and the Skip Baylesses and the stuff that they talk about sometimes. One of the things that, like, for instance, Skip was talking about in this game with the Bills and the Eagles in particular, where he's calling the Eagles the luckiest team in the NFL. The 2 guys on his show with him are both Dallas Cowboy wide receivers, Keshawn Johnson and, of course, the Hall of Famer Michael Irvin. Even Michael Irvin was telling Skip he was totally full of shit, and the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. Skip was saying they have to come back in the second half. Championship caliber football teams win games when they're losing. That's the whole point, right?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I just think, I think the Niners have more talent, and like you said, and honestly, it's very debatable. They're just not as gritty. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was trying to get at. Is the Eagles are the game. They will, at the end of the game, will grit their way through it. They will fucking Jason Kelsey fucking road grade their way through it.
I totally get where you're coming from. And another thing that I'll say too, along that line, if I'm going to go into a firefight in a football game and it matters and we're in the fourth quarter, I will jump behind Jalen Hurts long before I'll jump behind Brock Purdy.
Amen.
Purdy still has not shown that he can win a game when he's losing in the fourth quarter. He just hasn't.
Amen.
We'll see what happens this week, but I'm going with the Eagles. You're going with the Niners. Next, Browns-Rams. Well, the Browns quarterback is PJ Masks. He was a little troop of cartoon kids on Nickelodeon for a while, and somehow he now has merged into one person like the Powerpuff Girls used to do, and is playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Matthew Stafford's healthy, and he's playing out of his mind, and I'm taking Matthew Stafford. I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything you need to contemplate. I don't need to really – yeah. Ditto. Good enough.
Chiefs, Packers, nothing to talk about there.
Yeah. It's a Chiefs game.
The only way Packers would have any edge at all if the Kansas City Chiefs were the Miami Chiefs and they weren't used to playing in fucking Green Bay in December. But the Chiefs are from Kansas City, Missouri, where it's equally miserable at this time of the year. So
yeah, it's shitty.
Bengals and the Jags. While I thought Browning played respectably well for himself, this is not the same football team without Joe Burrow.
No.
And the Jags are playing really good football. They still got to learn to knock people out when they have a lead, and I'm hoping they develop that. We'll see, but I don't think they even need to knock out the Bengals. I just don't think the Bengals, without Joe Burrow, are good enough to play with them.
Yeah, hey, man, this is Jags game for sure. Jags are on a roll. Jags are one of the dominant teams in the AFC, and the Bengals are unfortunately, no Joe Burrow, no Bengals. He is the Bengals. So,
and it was something I wanted to talk about before we get going here. With the talking head things, everybody knows my great love for Skip Bayless. I was listening to him call the Eagles the luckiest team in the NFL, and then said this nugget of wisdom. If you look at all the best teams in the NFL, the Eagles are 6th, maybe 7th. Because no one could possibly have that take but Skip Bayless. A blind, deaf, and dumb person could not come to that conclusion. Who lives in the jungle and has never seen pro football wouldn't come to that conclusion.
Some of the dumbest shit I ever heard.
It's just so absurd, right? So then, though, when Michael Irvin and Keyshawn were just chewing him apart and listening to all his nonsense, and another reason to go with the fact that Josh Allen made the right read and the right throw is because Skip Bayless thinks that he made the wrong one. But primarily,
I'm not talking about Skip Bayless.
What Skip said
I'm mostly talking about Demarius Butler.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that anything that Skip Bayless says, go the opposite way. You're better off.
Fair.
But what I'm saying, he then said, after enough shit, and he knew he was losing the argument, he goes, well, if everybody here remembers, when Jalen Hurts was drafted, I said he was going to change the Eagles organization for 15 years and would be a Super Bowl champion. That is an absurd lie. So anybody who's listening to this and want to check it out, all you have to do is look up Skip Bayless's take on Jalen Hurts' draft position. And he said, and I quote, Jalen Hurts is not an NFL quarterback. He cannot make regular throws. All he has is his legs. He doesn't have the IQ to be an NFL quarterback. That's what he said about Jalen Hurts on his show with Stephen A. Smith after he was drafted. And today he's claiming that he said he would be a game changer and take the Eagles to Super Bowl victories. Skip Bayless is the biggest lying piece of shit in NFL journalism, sports journalism altogether. And anybody who's listening to him, stop. This is all meant as a comedy purpose.
Not to mention, you must be listening because it sounds like you knew what he said.
Right. I'm not misquoting or doing anything. I mean, he come on here and debate us, but that would be ridiculous because
I'm just saying, like, the man's he's playing a role and it seems
right.
to be working out.
So you've always been clear about that. So for anybody who is in our age group, Skip Bayless is Captain Lou Albano.
Yep.
And everybody else is Hulk Hogan.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's what's going on.
Yep.
And he's playing the heel, and he does it well.
Yep.
But you can play the heel and play that part without being a grifter and lying. Own up to the fact that you said Jalen Hurts was not going to be a good NFL quarterback. You said it. It's on record. He knows he said it. Why lie about it on national television? It doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
So that's all I got to say about him because he's just a jackass.
Right on. So, all right. Well, you have anything else, brother?
Nope. I'm looking forward to another setup. We're getting into the best time for the NFL. We're hitting the nitty gritty. 6 to 7 games left for all the teams, 6 or less, and that's where it starts to really get interesting. So over the next month and a half, we are going to separate the men from the boys in terms of who's going where and who has the most legitimate shot. So by the end of the season, we'll have most of this sorted out.
Right. And where are we at? Where are you and I at in our competition here. I think you're one ahead of me, right?
Well, I think we're dead even. Hang on, let me see here. I have to go back and look, see if I put up our total numbers.
We only have one differing game this week.
Yep.
Versus 5 last week.
So that was our terrible week. Yeah, I'd have to go. So next week I will catch everybody up on what it is. So
I was just curious. Yeah.
Yep. So we were one game apart when at mid-season.
Oh, no worries. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, then you were up 1 after the next week. Then I went up 1 the next week after that. So and then you went up 1 this week. So we're dead even.
Dead even. It's a dead heat, baby.
So it's a dead heat with 6 weeks to go.
And the two of us are in a dead heat, but our dead is way above the pack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, we make all our predictions on Monday, not the day of the damn games.
That's right.
It's not how we do it, right? So the prognosticators, I mean.
Well, they are procrastinators.
They are.
Wait till the last fucking minute.
Sure.
Yeah, we get ours done on Monday. They wait till the last minute.
So these guys are almost always making their predictions the very same day of the games themselves, when they have all the information about who's playing, who's not, who's injured, who's not, and all those sorts of things. We're not. We don't have all the inside information that they have, no matter what, no matter when we do it, and we're still above where they're at. If you watch the Fox News guys who do this all year long, and they only pick certain games. They don't pick every game. Right. They just take like 5 games or 4 games or so that they like from that week, and then they all pick on those. They don't even do the entire roster. So, and they still don't pull the percentages that we're pulling right now.
I have a special little homework assignment if you'd like to try it this week. And I'm going to bring it up right now on air because this could be something fun for the future. Every Friday, or is it Thursday? It might be. I think they do the Thursday game, and then I think Friday they come and they do the whole rest of the weekend. But McAfee does, him and AJ pick who is going to win, but they do it by spread.
That's a harder thing to do.
Exactly, but if let's put our money where our mouth is, why don't we look at that this week and just kind of like look closely at it, and then next week why don't we try to actually bet against the spread?
So
although we would have to wait till the last minute, then we would be procrastinating instead of prognosticating.
And do they pick every single game or just
they pick every single game? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. At least they're really putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because even on the game day shows, those guys oftentimes, even when they're doing spreads, they're only picking like who's the big Joe Rogan looking dude for Fox? He's an MMA guy too. Thick as hell.
I don't know.
I can see his face and everything. I can't remember his name.
We're probably ready to wrap here, but
right. But at any rate, that he does that every week. But he only picks a handful of games and that's it. And probably the games he's most confident in are going to come out the way he's saying. So at any rate,
we'll take a look. We'll see if we can get in on the spread too, just to up the ante a little bit. That's all.
Sure. We'll make it more difficult.
Right on.
So everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated. Please subscribe and like and all that stuff. And we will be back here next week to do another fun, fact-filled football episode on the Mancast. So until then,
peace.